Thank you so much. I've just shared a kind of a summary. I'll ride you through, actually focusing on the neglected African diaspora, as I call it, of post-communist spaces. Just a little bit about myself. Originally, I am from Budapest, but I have been living in the city of Pécs, gorgeous town, a truly historic and university junction, basically in the southern part of Hungary, close to Croatia. But part of my heart is still in Gainesville because I was a Fulbright professor in the Center for African Studies over there in 2013 and 14. And I'm so grateful actually to Dr. Anita Spring, who encouraged me last year to apply for the affiliate faculty position. I'm really privileged to be here with you. I'm a professor of political science and director of the Africa Research Center we have at the University of Pécs, which is the first university of our country and one of the first ones in Central Europe from 1367. That was the date when it was established. And I'm also the head of the doctoral program in international politics recently. These are the courses I've been teaching, and I've been a member of the China-Africa Working Group at the Center for African Studies, UF. And last June, we had a fantastic gathering together with Anita and also some other colleagues, Agnes actually, who is on the way to Pécs, but I'll let you know about those events coming up. So wow. I've been working on a new book, and actually I'm about to finish this new book in a couple of months. And these are the major talking points, which I am going to just cover a bit. Of course, I would need a couple of hours, but I really would like to focus on a couple of minutes here. So first, to locate the region I'm dealing with, and that is, of course, the macro region of Central and Eastern Europe, and especially the V4. The V4 is the Visegrad countries. I'm going to show you the map in a sec. And I hypothesize and introduce, I would say, a new term in global African diaspora research, and I call this term the neglected African diaspora. I'm going to tell you why. And I put this into a policy context of these four countries, focusing on especially my country, Hungary, as a case study. And yes, I take you through certain stories of Africans living with us in Hungary, living all across this macro region. And yes, successful Africans in their profession, successful Africans in their everyday life. And I have to underscore this because, of course, in the news, lately you have been hearing about Hungary with its very anti-immigrant policy. And in that context, that makes it even more interesting, I guess, to look at successful Africans in such a place, yes? Of course, there were major phases of these African migrations to this region, so I deal with those. And then I work with archival sources, and I look at, what was going on in the 60s, and throughout the 60s up to the present day. And I have a concluding kind of case study focusing on the Hungarian diaspora in South Africa, which is a peculiar topic recently, and that is also part of the book. So this is the space I wish to look at: the post-Soviet, the post-Eastern Bloc, and the post-communist spaces all around, and obviously the satellite states of the Soviet Union from Central and Eastern Europe, focusing on the Visegrad Four, these four countries, as we call them today: Poland, the Czech Republic, which changed its name to Czechia, so that's the latest name of the country, Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary. Not that really far from Africa. This is one of the things I've been proving in my research from so many angles in terms of intercultural and historic ties as well. So neglected from two angles at least. One is neglected area of research within diaspora or migration studies, very scarcely written about that. There are a couple of books and covers of those books, one by a couple of colleagues from US, Todd Leedy, as a matter of fact, a good friend of mine, publishing over African migrations. And if you open such a fantastic book of 400 pages, you would not find more than, let's say, 5 sentences, half a page about Africans living in such spaces, So definitely it's a neglected or really scarcely dealt with kind of angle to African diaspora research, and also neglected from a policy perspective, from a political perspective. Why not looking at these diaspora communities, for instance, from the foreign policy or other public policy perspectives of the countries where they live, actually, for instance, from a Hungarian foreign policy perspective? Because I guess, when we talk about the global African diaspora, yes, these communities are also part of that, and understanding all transnational interactions, connections with the motherland, they should not be neglected, right? Of course, we had throughout the decades different Africa policies, different approaches, from Central and Eastern Europe and from these countries towards Africa. You go back to the bipolar world, where you had the ideological clouds, under Moscow's umbrella. There were a lot of foreign policies. And then, of course, with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and especially the enlargement of the European Union, Hungary, also becoming part of that in 2004, new policies arose and came, and determined foreign policies. So these are the so-called new re-engagements or engagements of these Central and Eastern European countries. And yes, why not talking about success stories? Amongst these diaspora communities in Hungary and all around these V4 countries, you will find Africans from various different corners of the African continent with good education, most of them having come to Hungary or to Poland to earn a degree at a university in that country. They are very active in their civil lives, very active NGO people. They contribute a lot, to Hungarian society, to Polish society, to the economy, and they want to also share their cultural heritage. And there's a new wave of young Africans coming over because the Hungarian government opened a scholarship program very similarly to what we used to have in the 70s. And now thousands of Africans can apply for state scholarship from the Hungarian government to earn a degree at a Hungarian university. A very good friend of mine on the left, from the DR Congo, Franz Mutombo, who is one of active such persons actually at present in the Hungarian African diaspora in Budapest, all across, having been running a foundation with a lot of important humanitarian and education related projects in Kinshasa and also all across DR Congo. But there are many other such friends and examples of success stories in various different segments and walks of life, let that be connected to sports and let that be connected to music. And not just in Hungary. These photos show you a couple of the examples of politicians. Why not? Very scarcely, pointed out, but why not? John Abraham Godzin in the top left corner in Poland, some others in the top, bottom right corner in Slovenia, so very much engaging with, obviously, their chosen countries. Certain major phases of such migrations happening since the 1960s, basically up to the present day. Hungary has 11 embassies all around the continent, and with the re-engagement policies, it does make sense to look into why Hungary has been re-engaging as a member of the European Union. So I've been also looking at that. And also, you should take into account that we are also part of the aging Western populations, basically diminishing population, as you see the tendency in 2023, even less population in the country of Hungary, and the rise of Africans coming to Hungary with a study purpose, as a matter of fact, recently using that scholarship program, but also engaging with a lot of other sectors, as I showed you. And one of the activities I've been engaged with via our Africa Research Center is reaching out to this diaspora community. We have been organizing various intercultural programs. And in my application, when I submitted that to CAIM, I wrote about that. So I'm happy to share our experience, how to engage with this diaspora, for instance, in the form of our Africa Days. And actually next Monday, we are starting our annual Africa Days. That's for a full week, focusing on these African cultural heritage items, and also accommodating a 2-day international conference, which we are organizing this year together with the University of Florida and many other partners. This is the 8th Page African Studies Conference. Todd Leedy, has just arrived in Budapest. He just texted me, and all other colleagues are coming over as well from various different corners of the globe. This is a hybrid event, and I will share with you the link via which you can, if you have time, you can join in and follow the discussions and conversations. Todd will also give a lecture about racing and cycling in South Africa, one of his research projects that will be shown to our communities here. So basically, this is what I have been engaging with, and I'm so privileged to be part of CAIM community, and I wish to share more with you. So thank you so much for your attention.